Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. We have a big crowd today. Nice to see. Darren, you have an announcement?
Yeah, before we came in earlier, someone did leave a purse on one of the chairs outside, a little black purse that our custodial staff has. So if you're missing that, please let us know, or you can see the gentleman right outside and we'll make sure and get that returned.
Was there any money?
We did not want to look. The foundation wasn't available to help us look to see if
Welcome everyone. Are there any other announcements you need to be aware of? Okay, great. You have before you the minutes of the September 20, 2018 board meeting. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Governor Haley,
Second.
Governor Hirschway. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. First, have a report from our treasurer, Ms. Ice.
Good afternoon. In your packet, you received both the September and October financial statements, and we are going to review the information on the October statements as that is the most current information. As you can see on the cash graph, the cash balance right now is at $16.4 million, and that's about a $2 million increase over the prior year. The next statement we take a look at is the statement of net position. And looking on that statement, we have total assets of $172 million. We have total liability. I'm sorry.
Can't take her anywhere.
Oh. We have total liabilities of $99 million, which gives us a net position of $73 million. And on this statement, you can see on the bonds payable line that's in the liabilities section that we did make our semi-annual bond payment, and we made that payment in September, and you can see that reflected there. The next statement we take a look at is the comparative statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. And we always look at the difference column comparing this year to the prior year. Our total operating revenues show an increase of $172,000. Total operating expenses shows an increase of $376,000. When we look at the income before other revenues section, the current year is showing a $6 million increase, and the prior year had a $6.2 million increase. Therefore, that gives us a decrease of about $200,000. Within the non-operating, you can see in there that obviously we have the additional money from the one-time money from the state on appropriations. And you can also see a line item on there on the federal Pell Grants, and that has a decrease. And when I spoke with financial aid, they said that some of that has to do with some of the students are not meeting the requirements for the federal Pell Grant. And so that is showing some of that decrease there. The other items that are going on in the treasurer's office is this week we did have BKD on campus, and we are working on the NCAA agreed upon procedures, and that review gets done every 3 years. And I'll entertain any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Ice? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Second. Governor Flanagan, Governor Franks, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion carries. Next up is our VP for Business Affairs, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, sir. Start off with a construction report. First project on the list is Nixon Hall. It's always an exciting time for a construction project to see it come to fruition. This project is on the winding down stages, and you'll see that later on this afternoon if you decide to go on a tour with us. There are numerous areas on the project that are in the final stages of construction, such as exterior metal and concrete panels, masonry, glass panels, framing, sheetrock, painting, ceramic tiles, and restrooms. All those are being winded down right now. The office furniture will be delivered next week. Classroom furniture will be delivered in mid-December. Sky Bridge is in place. We'll be going across that today. We'll be going on the tour, and the project is scheduled to be completed within the next 2 months. So right on schedule. Residence Hall, the new construction of a residence hall. We continue to meet with the architects on a periodic basis. We had meetings last week, I believe, to discuss the possible design of the facility again, which determines whether the residence hall is a single, multi-story unit, multi-facilities, things like that. So we're still in that conversation stage. Finally, in construction, a oldie but a goodie, our trail to the mall. We did actually receive some correspondence from the city this week. So that we are finalizing the agreement for maintenance of the trail and the surrounding property. And those agreements will go in front of the city council next Monday. Cross your fingers, we'll see if that gets all finished at that point. Of course, once that is approved by the council, if it is approved on a Monday, they have to get with the mall and the theater to execute the easement, and then the city will get clearance from MoDOT, so who knows when. I'm not holding my breath, but that way. Anyway, we're very hopeful that we will break ground on that project sometime. I can guarantee you that. And finally, on a non-construction, on GGOE. Recall I mentioned to you in September, our last meeting, that Jeff Gibson and Marianne Mitz were going to present our GGOE concept at the Kukubo conference in Chicago in October. Well, they did that. And actually, you'll hear from our auditors that one of them witnessed the presentation and said it went exceptionally well. And it went so well that they received an honorable mention from Kukubo on best practices in the whole nation. And that is with the likes of University of Nebraska and Kansas State. We're also in the honorable mention stage. So our kudos go out to wherever you are, Jeff and Marianne. You guys did a good job. And actually, they were asked to submit an application to present at the National Nakubo Conference in Austin next summer, and they have done that. So we're waiting to hear word from whether or not they got accepted. That's it.
Any questions for Rob? All right, thank you, Rob. Athletic Director, Mr. Brugman. Jared, I was brought to my attention before the meeting by the provost that you really kind of upped the ante with the watermark on your report. And the only question I have is, do you not have green or gold ink?
Actually, we do not. It ran out this morning when I was making the comments. It's what they call it, sign, I think, or C-Y-N-A. Well, I'll be pretty brief on my report. I'm just glad that the NCAA is not as complicated as building a trail. We do have a cross-country regionals occurring this weekend, and I'm the meet director. The national committee representative will be Amber Feldman. Normally that'd be me, but she's coming down from the MIAA. So you do have credentials in front of you. I did not put you can just show this to get in. If you want to have it actually with a lanyard, just let me know. I have some here for you, but otherwise you can just show that if you want to go to the meet. The race at 10 and 11:15 on Saturday. So we have 35 teams coming on the women's side and 29 on the men's. The hotels are full, and so we're glad to host this meet. In addition, our men's program won the MIAA. I don't normally go through that stuff too much, but they did win the MIAA conference championship with 31 points. And if you're not familiar with how scoring goes in cross country, it's based on your place. So first place is 1, second place is 2. You want to have the lowest score like in golf. Well, the best score you could possibly have with 5 runners is 15. We scored 31. All 7 of our runners were all conference athletes in the top 20. So we're looking forward to seeing their performance out here this weekend at the meet. MIAA news, the Webcasting Task Force, which I'm a member of, is looking at a revenue sharing model that we're going to be working on here this next month and a half. Football Task Force is being reconvened with the changing of our football model, with Lincoln coming back in and Lindenwood leaving the conference for next season. So that's being reconvened. Our first conference call is in January. And then the Membership Task Force is being put together again to reconvene as well. Creasa Burr, our SWA, will be serving on that committee. As far as departmental positions, which I don't normally go through that too much either, but obviously there's been a few changes in the heads. We want to make sure that you understand who our new head coaches are. So we do have a new head football coach, Jeff Sims, coming from Garden City Community College. Currently they are undefeated. They're playing in the national championship game on November 29th. Happens to be in Pittsburgh, Kansas. And so I think we'll have a good turnout of them. I want to see us coaching, as well as see what they're kind of about. Our head softball coach was filled by the interim, Haley Blackney, so we did end up hiring her as our full-time. She's an excellent candidate. We brought 3 to campus, and she really came to the top. And so we're excited about that. She's really intertwined well with our alums already, and has some great ideas and has reached out to them. We also ended up hiring an assistant softball coach, Jackie Schneider, and Jackie was the head coach at Joplin High until Monday, when their school board approved that she can leave her contract with them. So she officially will be joining us yesterday. She joined us yesterday. And then we also filled our athletic sales and corporate relations position with Shantae Clay. Shantae played basketball for us. We got her out of Pittsburgh. She was the GM of the Comfort Inn, but she's had a long experience in sales, and so we're glad to get an alum of Missouri Southern, also an athletics alum, and have her back on campus, and she's really excited to be here. The last informational thing would be for our Student Athlete Advisory Council. We have an event that they do called Trick or Treat So Others Can Eat. It's a campaign where they go out in the community and gather canned goods, non-perishables. This year they had a little over 6,100. They brought those to Souls Harbor, and when they were there at Souls Harbor, they had said last year when we provided that, they went all the way through July, provided the food for Souls Harbor through July of last year. So they're anticipating it'll be the same as this year. So it's a great thing that they go out and do for the community and for Souls Harbor. And then just tonight, if you want to see entertainment, we have a talent show. Surprisingly, we got some, not just talented athletes, but they're also gifted musicians and dancers. It's all kinds of neat stuff. And so they're putting on a talent show. Every team will have at least one act. It's $1 to get in, and then each vote is $1. All that money goes to Ronald McDonald House. So it starts at 7 o'clock tonight. And so if you're looking for something fun to do, that might be on your list.
Did you mention Jamie Burnham, Coach of the Year?
I did not. Jamie Burnham was named Coach of the Year yesterday, officially by the MIAA. So congratulations to him. We've had 5 Coaches of the Year in the last 3 years from our programs. That concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Jared? Thank you, Jared. Dr. Hodson?
All right, you have a copy of my report in your packet, but I'll pull out a few items. You can see the list of major gifts that have been received since the last board meeting. And at 2:30 this afternoon, we will have a press conference and a ribbon cutting for the new Center for Healthcare Leadership, and I hope everyone here is able to attend that in the Leone Health Sciences building. Further down on that front page, you can see that for the second year in a row, we sent out endowment reports to every donor who had created an endowment with the university. It is a customized report. It lists the beginning balance, the investment returns, any additional contributions made, and also the distributions for scholarships or other purposes. This is my copy of the endowment that we have for my dad's scholarship, so I'll pass it around, but I'd like it back where I get another one. But page 11 shows the customized portion of the report where each donor gets a personal rundown of how their endowment performed in the previous fiscal year. On page 2, you can see also that we shared information with the campus. You have in your packet the annual enrollment report, which was produced by the Office of Admissions and the Office of University Relations and Marketing. It really is a great touch point for faculty and staff about where our students come from, what their academic interests are, what their demographic information is. And then on the back, you can see sometimes if you've worked in higher ed for 20, 30, 40 years, you forget that students you're teaching today were born in the year 2000, and the music they listen to and the movies that are their cultural touch points. And so this is a great way to remind faculty and staff who we have on campus today that it changes every year, and their frame of reference is not the same as students 10 years ago. So that's for your information. You also have a copy of Crossroads Magazine. I know you likely received one at home, but we again are very proud of this publication. It's a great way for us to tell the Missouri Southern story to 45,000 alumni and friends that get this now 3 times a year. We've upped the circulation from 2 times a year to 3. And so there'll be another edition going out to those same alumni and friends in early 2019. And then on page 3, I do want to point out we've sort of kept you up to date on our efforts to update our alumni database, which was in not a great place when we began this process several years ago. The company that we hired our database system from, Razor's Edge, periodically issues what's called a data health scorecard, telling you how you fare compared to other national institutions on the quality of your data. When we made the conversion in 2017, our health score was a C-, which is not great. And we just got the scorecard 2 weeks ago, and we are now a B. And so all the efforts to identify new constituents, deceased constituents, current addresses, current emails, current phone numbers has paid off, and we continue to plug away at that every day. With 45,000 constituent records, it is a constant struggle to keep up with where they're living and who they're married to and where they're employed, what their attributes are, but we are making progress, and that score is evidence of that. And then finally, if I could have Cassie Mathis please stand. Cassie recently told us that she has accepted a job as Director of University Relations at the University of Northern Iowa. And so we will be losing her at the end of this month. A lot of the good things that you see in the community, the billboards, the TV commercials, the publications, the special events, all come from the team that Cassie leads. And so we are going to miss her leadership in that role, but we are certainly happy that she's making the leap to a larger school and a bigger opportunity. So Cassie, on behalf of all of us, thank you.
Cassie, we took a secret vote earlier today, and we decided you can't go. But thank you for your service. And what Brad said in his report, an outstanding job leading our public relations and marketing efforts and significantly advancing Missouri Southern's public image. You've done that quite well. Thank you. Anything else, Brad?
No.
Any questions for Dr. Hodson? All right, we'll move right along. Who's up next?
Oh, yeah, Paula.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Carson.
Your report is in there. Just a few things I'm excited to share with you all, and then a plethora of academic policies that Governor Franks is thankfully going to handle for me. But a few things that we're really excited about that you haven't heard us talk about before. First is this week we had our very first visit by an evaluation team from the National Student Exchange Organization. It has been about a 6-month process to actually earn the visit by the team. It's something we're very excited about. We are actually a member of the International Student Exchange Consortium, where our students can exchange with in other countries. But there are many students for whom that is too big of a first step. And so we have expanded our domestic study trips, and this is another step in trying to get our students beyond the 4 states area to understand the value of traveling and the wisdom that is out there beyond our 4 walls. So we applied several months ago, and Dr. Chad Stebbins has been the lead on this. I'm very grateful for his commitment to it. And we earned a visit this week. If we are able to be accepted, we will be the only Missouri school that is in the National Student Exchange Consortium, and our students will be able to go for no additional money. For the amount of tuition they pay to Missouri Southern, they will be able to go to any one of 165 other schools in the 50 United States, well actually 49, Delaware doesn't have a school, but any of the other 49 states, Guam, Canada, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and it will be an amazing deal for them because with our tuition being one of the lowest and most competitive, our students will be able to come here and for no additional money go to schools that are literally 10 times as expensive as we are in Spanish language instruction, as well as French and English language instruction. So we should know pretty soon. Very hopeful. As the team departed, they said they would send us some recruiting literature, so we took that as a very good sign that we will get accepted into that program. We're also very excited as a benefit for recruiting for faculty and staff. We're always trying to become an employer of choice, and if we can have faculty come here knowing that thanks to the board's generosity, their children can attend Missouri Southern for free, and throughout that they can exchange an unlimited time to other campuses throughout the country, we think it'll be a big draw to continue to make us very competitive with our hiring. So thanks to all of the teams who supported that visit, and that was everyone. They want to meet with everyone on campus, really. I also wanted to share with you that we had our first in October Missouri Southern KCU research collaboration. It was the inaugural event, but we're planning on continuing those. We had several researchers from KCU come and meet in actually our new Plaster Auditorium. Several of our faculty members presented on their research interest. And it was very interesting, not only that connections were made between our team and KCU, but also within Missouri Southern faculty. So people were sharing research that we really didn't know they were interested in pursuing. So I think that's beneficial. We are having our second research collaboration with them before the end of the academic year. And we will soon be having our ribbon cutting for the KCU Research Lab that is housed in Reynolds Annex. Down in the FEMA trailers that have been so beautifully converted. But we are continuing to look at several joint programs with KCU. Yours to Lose is phenomenal and it's nationally unique and recognized, but it's just one of the many steps and partnerships and collaborations we're looking forward to with KCU. We had 2 other accreditation visits since we last gathered. One from NASM, which is the organization that accredits schools of music. Less than half of the schools of music in the country are accredited. This is a very, very premier, very voluntary accreditation, one that very few organizations are able to achieve. And we are delighted Dr. Talley's leadership in the Department of Music were able to get a very, very positive visit. We had an experienced reviewer who has been doing campus visits for NASM for over 25 years. And she said in her entire time, our visit was one of, if not the best first visit that she's ever had to a campus. So we are thrilled. We have a lot of our problem is that we have too many music students now, which is an awesome problem for us to have. So we need to find some more practice studios and expand our facilities a little bit, but it is doable and we're happy and willing to do it. And I think we'll be very, very proud to have one of the very few accredited music programs in the state. Reminds me the Choral Flourish season is coming up, so it will be as fabulous as ever, and we hope you all will be able to attend that. We also had our ACDSP visit for our Masters of Accounting program, our original Masters program, and that went very well as well. It's a relatively new program, so they want to come and make sure things are progressing. And of course, you always have some things, but most of what we have to do there is respond to items as opposed to really change things. It has been a collective effort, and we're delighted to share that our Lion Cub Academy is operating in the black for the first time in a very, very long time. It's very important for us to make sure that the Lion Cub Academy, one, educated our little cubs as best as we possibly could, two, formed significant alignments with the academic programs at Missouri Southern, and three, did not in any way financially pressure any of the other academic or service and support units on campus. In the couple years we have been able to achieve, I think with tremendous success, all three of those. I very much have to thank our director, Nikita Banna, and Dean of Education, Lorena Hackett. She's worked daily with them to get us to this place, and I am thrilled. Our most recent adventure took us with the Lion Academy, not just having curricular collaborations, but co-curricular. So at our very last halftime of the Pitt State football game, our little Lion Cubs were taught a dance and performed on the field at halftime with our Missouri Southern Bowl dancers, with our actual dance team. And it's very exciting because we have had dental hygiene interaction, we have had modern language interaction, a lot of different academic departments, but now we're really engaging them in the life of our co-curriculars. And mostly I want to talk about that so I could put the picture of President Marble and Rob trick-or-treating there on my report. We have a trunk-or-treat every year where we all go over and do trunk-or-treat with them, and it's a great time. And I'm just really thankful that those parents entrust us to be part of the educational lives of their children. And finally, you all will be getting, if you have not already received, a Save the Date card for our upcoming HLC visit. Dr. McGrain has literally probably worked on this 60 hours a week with increasing hours each week over time, and I'm really grateful for all that you have done, but it is coming very close. We're trying to get that report locked down before the holidays, and we will have our visit on February 4th and 5th. Obviously, they want to meet with our governors, and so we have a Save the Date here for lunch. Would really, really appreciate it if you can make it to that. I know some of you already have conflicts, but as we get closer and we get more information about what they will want from you guys, we'll share it. In the meantime, the only other thing on my report is that we've attached the criteria for our accreditation. These are the specific items to which we are rating. We have to rate to all of these items, and 30,000 words, which is about 120 pages. We'll be happy to share that with you, but we'll also be happy to prepare a bulleted summary for you as well. So that's the end of my report. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Carson. Are there any questions for Dr. Carson? Thank you. Mr. Fullerton.
You have my report in front of you, so I'll just highlight a few things. One, Cheryl Dobson, our registrar, was awarded the 2018 Georgianne Ponner Professional Services Award by the Missouri Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, or called MACRO. That is kind of a lifetime achievement award for someone that has dedicated years of service to the students in a variety of capacities. Cheryl has worked with us in some form since 1990, and she's not here, so I'm going to throw dates out or she would not be happy with me. Since 1990, everything from starting as in academic affairs as administrative assistant to financial aid to the registrar's office, moving up to registrar, and is actually our banner specialist, which is our computer software that the whole campus runs on. And so we definitely want to brag on her, the hours that she puts in for the entire campus. She spends as much time or more in the academic affairs realm, and is sometimes their advocate and sometimes the gatekeeper. All of the changes that you see Paula bringing forth in the academic catalog, all of those changes go through Cheryl's shop, and they're implemented into the software. And so we definitely want to brag on her. Just a note there, and I'll let you read about the Student Success Center, but they did receive a website award. And again, Cassie's been mentioned. We want to thank University Relations for their assistance in redesigning that website and qualifying them for the award. Omicron Delta Kappa is the National Leadership Society. We have a lot of honor societies and academic achievements. ODK is a society that awards them not only for excellent academics, but for leadership across campus in 5 different areas. Dr. Nichols and Dr. Garut are the advisors for that. And we inducted 33 students this past weekend in that organization. You've heard us talk about priority registration. It is still ongoing, and so faculty and staff are frantically getting that ready and trying to enroll those students. So far, we're up to 3,300 students that are currently in classes that we have pre-enrolled for next semester, and we'll be working on the rest as we get close to the end of the semester. You'll see some numbers to the side there, a couple with financial aid. I know we have Becca here with us. FAFSA Fiesta was today. Time for us to help students with the FAFSA. That's their federal application for student assistance. So far, as of November 1st, we're over 1,800 students that we have prepared next fall's packets for. The admissions office will be happy to know the President's and Excellence Scholarship notifications will be going out. And according to our contact with our peers, that's an earlier deadline than most of our competitors in other universities in the area. And just to note, in contrast to Dr. Carson's report, where you see the President and Rob with bags of candy in their hands, we did have a safe Halloween event that Residence Life and Student Activities sponsored. We had over 500 students, faculty, and staff bring their children to that event, and it was a cold, rainy night on Halloween, if you remember. So we had over 500 participants attend that event in the ballroom, and we were able to make it out of that event without photos of me walking around with bags of candy, so just for the record. With that, I'll conclude my report and answer any questions.
Are you implying it would have been unsafe if Rob and I?
I was just saying that photo shows you holding candy, but I don't see anybody handing it out to a child.
For the record, that was not my bag of candy that I got. I was handing it out.
Other things for the record there. Are there any questions for Mr. Fulton? Thank you, Derek. Faculty Senate President, Dr. Latham.
Thank you very much. So since the last Board of Governors meeting, Faculty Senate has met twice, once on October 1st and once on November 5th. Old business at those meetings, there was only one item of old business at the November meeting. It was probably just a misunderstanding, some communication that needed to be had, and about one of the proposals that was kind of taken care of in between meetings, and it was passed without revision and with no further discussion, so that went with no problems whatsoever. New business on the October 1st meeting. Lots of the committees were kind of getting going at that point. Probably the longest report was the insurance committee report, and that kind of prompted good discussion. Since that meeting, the insurance committee is being expanded. That expanded by 5 faculty members, 5 staff members, and that will enhance the lines of communication so that we've got more avenues coming out of the insurance committee to kind of communicate, here's what's going on, here's what we're up against, here's what we're trying to do, and also to make them receptive to, so that they're getting good feedback from their constituents as well. The November 5th meeting, probably the biggest change was the extensive list of curricular changes that we had at that time. All of those were passed. In particular, the 2 policies, the academic rigor policy and the certificate policies, those were discussed and were passed. And academic policies, when they came out of that committee, they thought, well, you know, this is good, this is a good start, and we want to pick this up and we want to take this a little bit further. So academic policies established 2 subcommittees to kind of enhance those proposals as well. So that's what's going on in Faculty Senate. Anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions for Dr. Lathrop? Thank you for your report. Now the Staff Senate President, Mrs. Bennett.
Yes, we have met. We went ahead and we typically have 3 service champ awards every quarter. Somehow we missed the 2nd quarter, I think because of summer vacations. So we were allowed to be able to do 6 service champs for the 3rd quarter. So those nominations have been done and the recipients will be notified shortly. And they include, you know, respect to the campus. That's how we look at different characteristics that they have, such as, you know, the respect, the positive attitude, just an overall, who's your go-to person that you have on campus. All the nominees, we wish we could give everyone one, but I hope they know about the nominations and get their awards shortly. The Staff Senate, as well as Faculty Senate and Al Stadler, all worked on some sub-goals project. And we are proud to announce that we were able to submit something to President's Council for that. And we worked very hard on that and are glad it's over on our part, I think. But I think it came out with some really good results. And then most importantly, Angel Tree. If you have not gotten over to Hearns Hall, 2nd floor, there is a Christmas tree that is on the 2nd floor outside of Dr. Marvel's office. The Angel Tree, it has different angels that need gifts. The students are Pell eligible students that have children that are seniors in high school down to younger. And we have 103 that we put on the tree. 92 of them have been adopted. If the remainder of the rest of them get adopted, we still have 23 more we can put on there. So we have a waiting list of angels that need things as well. We have on the application that 75 applicants are eligible, and we were able to extend that to the 92 that we were able to do last year, and went ahead and put up 103. Like I said, we still have 23 more on a waiting list that we can hang up on the tree if the first round gets adopted. So And one thing that we had talked about is also the little kids usually get taken care of really well. The teenagers are a little harder to shop for because usually they want cash. But any kind of gift cards, earbuds, you know, the headphones, any kind of accessories like that, it would be greatly appreciated. That way we can throw in a little extra with the gifts and make it comparable with what their sibling that might be 5 years old might get. So any help on that would be great. And then the wrap day is on December 3rd. It's going to be in the Billingsley Ballroom. Everyone is welcome to wrap. We allow anyone to come. We will be there probably all day. And the gifts will be brought over at 8 o'clock that morning, and we'll immediately start getting wrapped. I think we finished at 3 or 4 o'clock last year, so it was an all-day thing. But the more helpers, the less time it takes. So feel free to assist with that. And then all the gifts will be picked up at Southern Lights on December 5th. Any questions?
Any questions from Mrs. Bennett?
I think Rob has some candy.
Rob has candy. Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. And our Student Senate President, Mr. Lyon.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to highlight 4 main topics for today. The first being the social media presence of Student Senate. We've expanded it this year to make sure we post something every week just to keep the students and the general campus community informed about what's going on within the Student Senate. And we usually have a Senator of the Week just to highlight what the people do on Student Senate, like what committees they're in, for instance. The second thing I wanted to bring up was the staircase project. It's between Plaster Hall and the Alumni Center. We wanted to expand it to make it easier for people to kind of cross that part of campus. Right now, usually it's like one person can cross it at a time, so we're hoping to widen it for next semester. The third thing I wanted to bring up, we continue to fund RSOs. At the last meeting, we agreed to fund 3 different clubs on campus. Caduceus Club, Psychi, that's the Psychology Honor Society, and Psychology Club, just to make sure they can go on their conference trips and hopefully bring back some knowledge and awards for MSSU. These conference trips, they're usually very beneficial for our campus. It helps our students a lot get more kind of knowledge and even job opportunities in their field of study. And finally, I'd just like to highlight the Angel Tree Project. The Student Senate unanimously agreed to help sponsor that project with the Staff Senate. And next meeting, we'll hopefully get some student senators to agree to help with the gift wrapping. And that's all I have to report today.
Yeah, $100 donation. Yes.
Seriously? Okay. We're talking about the candies.
Not a joke.
Are there any questions for Mr. Lyon? Thank you. Thank you for your report. We had 2 committee meetings this morning, both Academic Affairs and the Budget Audit Committee met. I'll call on Governor Franks for the Academic Affairs Committee report.
We had an excellent meeting this morning. Good thing it was a 2-hour meeting. We pretty much used all of it at this point. It was very exciting to listen to Dr. Schooler's presentation on the new degree program and health care management. I consider that to be one of the most exciting things I've heard in my tenure on this board. I think the entire committee was impressed with his presentation in terms of not only the degree, but the genesis of it, where it came from, the thought process behind how the degree is actually structured and how the institution will execute on that. Really fits this area here, really fills a need, a void in the marketplace here, and really uses a lot of the disciplines on campus and brings them together for what I think, frankly, will become a signature program for the university. So we're incredibly appreciative of all the work that was done by Dr. Schooler and everyone involved in this, and we look forward to great things in the future as of that. The committee considered several proposals and has brought forward for approval by the board some things that were submitted to us. First, would point your attention to the undergraduate certificates that need to be adopted at this point, along with the graduate certificates and the major and minor change. The certificate program is, and really this looks like this. You should have it.
Everybody have it? I don't think so.
Okay, I apologize then. So,
Where is it?
no. I assume it was in your packet.
Okay, go right ahead though.
Okay, I'll read this to you then
All
at
right.
this point. The thesis here is that certificates are levels of completion that students can take advantage of outside of their direct major at this point to add to those things. These are things that will leverage the things that we do already in coursework on this campus, but provide the additional level of certificate value to students. I'll read the programs that were put forward today that have already been approved by the Faculty Senate at this point for inclusion. Publication design, illustration, creative writing, exercise science, mathematics tutors levels 1 and 2, music ensemble performance, music conducting, music instruction, developmental psychology, clinical psychology, Latin American studies, public history, women's and gender studies. Now again, this is involved in your major. You can't grab a certificate inside of your major core program. You have to go outside of that to get this. And in graduate certificates, post-baccalaureate studies in art, music applied pedagogy, and music ensemble pedagogy. And finally, and this one really struck home with me, the addition of, instead of just having a Bachelor of Arts and History, a Bachelor of Science. This went back 4 years ago to my college days, where I made the choice of taking a Bachelor of Science so that I could avoid the inevitable foreign language. That is, of course, what's going on here at this point. So glad to see some things in this world don't change at this point. And by the way, it was a huge mistake on my part to avoid that at this point. And I had to tell the committee it's a mistake that I refused to let our daughter make as well. It's the only things that Tammy and I ever required her to take was a foreign language at this point. So these are the programs that the board voted unanimously to recommend, and we would put that motion in front of the full board.
Okay, we have a motion by Governor Franks on behalf of the Academic Affairs Committee to accept these changes. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Governor Flanagan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Like sign. Motion carries.
Additionally, the faculty of the Academic Affairs Committee would like to recommend to the board the adoption of changes in our associate general ed requirement. This is obviously a level that requires half the hours as a full degree. The core 42 categories that were adopted for our full general ed requirements need to be scaled back and honed in with our associate degrees, so that they have provided us a new set of academic requirements for the associate general ed, and we would recommend the adoption of those to the board.
Motion on behalf of the committee?
Yes.
Motion from Governor Franks on behalf of the committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Governor Elliott, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any of you opposed? Motion, is there it? Any opposed? Motion carries. Sorry about that, got twisted.
There was also discussion of a change of our no grade policy. No grade is different than an incomplete. The committee was not comfortable with the proposal at that point, so we've sent that back for further review. In addition to that, we also need to approve the moving of the location of our teacher ed program from the Crowder College Jane campus over to the McDonald County High School campus. This has pretty much been fully vetted. It's happened because the Crowder College Jane campus was fairly empty when it first opened its doors. Some crazy guy approved this down there, the building of this thing. But oddly enough, it has filled up over time at this point. And in particular, their nursing program has taken off, so they don't have the flexibility of scheduling in the building that our program really requires. So the team has worked in conjunction, the teacher ed team, with the McDonald County High School for their Anderson campus at this point, and their board has already approved providing space to this program. So it is the recommendation of our committee at this point that the board authorized moving of the teacher ed program in McDonald County from the Crowder College James campus to the McDonald County High School campus.
On behalf of the committee, motion? That's your motion on behalf of the committee?
Yes.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Governor Flanagan. Any questions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Finally, as is listed in the faculty senate report, sometimes a lot of these considerations for curricular changes come at a very rapid pace. And it's kind of made the sequence in which we approve things more difficult at this point. So the board has, the committee has agreed to meet in a little different sequence, and we've also agreed to meet electronically when we need to. Having that fully vetted, of course, by council at this point. He thinks it's okay, but we're going to give him a little more time. But the board, the committee has voted to meet electronically for some of our meetings. I don't know if that requires full board approval or not at this point. So I bring that to you. We've approved it subject to council's approval.
Yeah, I think the board needs to approve it, but I'd like to look at the issue.
Do you want to defer until next meeting, John?
Sure.
Would that be?
It's fine with us because we passed it subject to council review. Anyway.
Okay, so why don't we, until you've had a chance to review that, why don't we defer a decision from the board until the next meeting? So our next meeting is in January. Is that going to put a bind on anything the committee needs to do between now and then?
I don't think so.
Yeah, if we have to, we'll just ask the committee to gather face-to-face.
Okay.
But we'll try to avoid that, yeah.
Paul and her team were trying to be very differential to the committee's time, but we explained to them that as a group, we all knew when we had fewer meetings, we would have more committee meetings. So
Yes.
we've encouraged her to not worry about that. If we need a meeting, just let us know.
Good. Good, okay. All right, so we'll wait to hear back from you next month, or in January.
I think you'll have an answer before then.
And that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Governor Franks. Any other questions of Governor Franks? We also had a budget and audit committee meeting, Governor Hayden.
Yes, so today we did have our meeting. Today we had a very long meeting, which I thought was very fruitful. We had got an update from Jeff Gibson on budget impacts for this fiscal year. And also pretty much the bulk of our meeting was talking around cash. So we talked about our cash policy, also potentially looking at a cash growth strategy, and also our investment policy. So those are good things that we discussed in our committee meeting. We'll continue to take those up and then bring those forward to this full board. And then lastly, we had a review of the BKD audit results, and our committee has made a motion to approve their report of the audit for this fiscal year for this committee to consider for the full board.
You want to defer a motion on that until until the board actually sees the report from BKD?
Yes.
Okay. All right, anything else, Carlos?
That is it.
All right, any questions of Governor Haley about the committee meeting?
I'm just very appreciative of the committee's focus on our cash positions going forward. I think Dr. Marble, I noticed in the minutes, was kind enough to relay my thoughts at the last meeting, which is we really do need to work on our cash reserves long-term while things are relatively okay, knowing that the cycle will change at some point, either economically or in the legislature. So I appreciate the committee's real focus on this.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you. Dr. Marble, your report.
Thank you, Governor Gibson. I know that you have a copy in the packet, so I'll just be brief. But Governor Parsons stopped by. I think most of you know. He was on his tour around the state promoting Proposition D, which we were, of course, neutral about. We didn't take a position on those things, but we did make the component available to him and ask him to stay for lunch, which he did. So we had about 45 minutes of a very informal, friendly conversation with the governor, which is always good. Our legislative delegation this year, due to term limits, has really turned over familiar faces. We have Cody Smith is really our senior person in the House of Representatives in this just finished his first term. And Bill White will be moving over to the Senate and will be freshman senator. So we plan with our legislative forum that we do each fall to make this one very much about our programs and what we do in Missouri Southern, to familiarize them with the campus more so than in the past. In the past, they've understood kind of what we do, and we're looking forward. We'll have a few goals for them, but mostly just to understand what we're about. The strategic plan that you all worked on so diligently, I appreciate. You should have a mouse pad with our mission, vision, and values on it. Those have been distributed, I think, to all faculty and staff now. I think they should be up. We've also, as Angela mentioned in her report, asked the faculty senate and staff senate and the game folks to help flesh out those 5 areas, which they did. And you can see on the back page, they submitted some very good input. We took it to the President's Council, put some metrics to it, sent it to the deans. Deans looked at it, department chairs, back to us, back to the faculty senate, back to the staff senate. They all looked at it and made the full loop again. And so we have some things to work toward as we think about moving to the next level with our great game efforts. We've been focused on the critical number, which was our predicate. We need to focus on our critical purpose. And our critical purpose is really defined by our mission. And we define the mission together, starting with our stakeholder meetings, moving right through the board. And so we will be working on that sometime in the spring after our HLC visit, I suppose. We really start to hone in on it for next year. Some of these goals, you'll see that we have 5-year goals, we have goals that will be annual, and report on those periodically to you and to the University Council. Before I leave the great game, very nice things said about Jeff and Marianne's performance. Appreciate that much. The lion's share distributions were sent out to all faculty and staff, $750 to full-time and $350 part-time. We received numerous thank you notes, so I'd like to pass that along to the board. People are very, very grateful for it. The last item I had to mention was service, and it just kind of pleases me to know him and surprises me so that at the service that this university provides to the community. I've listed a few there. The athletes are always involved in service, community service activities. We saw the trunk or treat where Rob and I were passing out candy to the kids at the Lion Cub Academy. I think the Angel Tree is something that I just can't hardly stop talking about because they do such a great job. But lately, the Lion Co-op Food Pantry is the one that really takes the glory, because we do have students that they're hungry sometimes. We talk about food insecurity, that's just a nice word for it. And we don't need hunger on this campus. The response has just been remarkable. It was a grassroots growth in the program. It started with some faculty and staff members, faculty members in particular, getting together. And the donations have just been flowing in every day. Not only canned goods and food, but also toiletries and items that people need. So this is a a campus made up of some very, very good. You should know that. Very proud of it. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Marble?
I just have one question on the great game. Has there been any more work towards rolling that out with the Springfield group?
Well, we still need to get an agreement signed.
Okay.
So we're held up on just a couple items.
Any other questions for Dr. Marble? Thank you for your report. Now we have any old business before I move on. Any old business? Okay. Now we have 2 nominations for emeritus status. Dr. Carter.
Yes, thank you. What a pleasure it is at our governor's meetings this time of year, because it's become sort of a tradition to be able to introduce to the community our emeritus faculty. It's really amazing. Everything we talk about in all of our reports today is really only possible because of the amazing good works that have come from the faculty who have served here before us, and for me, being pretty new to this campus, it's just such an honor and a pleasure to be able to support the recognition of these candidates. So ironically, we have an afternoon full of math. Our two candidates today are both from the math department. And we are going to begin with an introduction by our department head, Dr. Gary Johnson, who will introduce to you our first candidate, Dr. Laura Atkins.
So I considered lots of different ways to do this introduction. I could talk to you about how great a teacher she is. I could talk to you about how much her students love her, what a great advisor she is. And I thought, I'll just tell a story. So I was hired in 1998. And at that time, my wife and I, we lived about 5 hours away from here. When we got word that I was going to be moving to Joplin, we started trying to look for a house. We tried to use some online sources and, phone calls, but at that time, online sources were dial-up, and there were no smartphones. So we hunted and hunted, and we finally decided to bite the bullet and drive up on a weekend. We stayed. Well, we came up on a Saturday morning early, like 6 in the morning. We hunted for a house all day long, searched and searched and searched. Nothing. Decided to stay the night, get up early on Sunday and hunt again. Hunted all day Sunday, got to late in the afternoon. We decided to buy a copy of the Joplin Globe. My wife says, look, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. There's this one ad left in the paper. Let's just call it. So she calls up, and she talks to the woman on the phone. She says, my husband just got a job at MSSC. At that time, it was MSSC. And the woman says, really? I work at MSSC. And she says, well, he's going to work in the math department. She's like, really? I work in the math department. So to make a long story short, our whole weekend, which almost went completely bust, was saved because Laura had a house to rent us. And that's what Laura has been for the 20 years I've worked with her. She has taken every new hire that we ever had in the department under her wing. She's solved every one of their problems because she knows every single person on campus, everybody in town. If you have any question at all, just go ask Laura. And from the department, we thank you very much for our views. Grateful thank yous.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Atkins, is there anything you'd like to say?
I'd like to say thank you to the department and to everyone in the room. I started here in 1971 as a student, and the growth has been phenomenal. It's a great school then, it's a great school. I want to thank everybody. And I want to say that the next nominee hired me.
So you have before you a recommendation for promotion to emeritus rank for Professor Laura Atkins. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
A motion here by Governor Plotnick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Governor Hirschman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So we're pleased that our second nominee also comes from the math department. Our candidate is Dr. Larry Martin, and he will be introduced and recommended by Dr. Chip Curtis.
I'd like to ask 3 people to stand up: Larry, and Juan, and Carrie. The students come and go at a somewhat slower rate. Faculty and administrators come and go. The one place of continuity has been in the leadership of the math department. These 3 individuals standing here have served as department heads collectively for essentially the last half century. I think that's impressive. One of my dad's career, he worked at the Boeing Airplane Company, which is a large company. And I remember maybe 30 years ago him telling me that 2 of the lessons that he had learned there early on were learn how the game is played and find a mentor. Now, when it comes to learning how the game is played, probably part of that is not arguing with your boss, learning to keep your mouth shut at meetings, and my current boss would say I probably have quite a ways to go in that area. But when it comes to finding a mentor, Larry Martin was not only my first boss, but the best mentor one could want. When things didn't go as well as they should have for me in the classroom, or I caused trouble on the committee, he was always able to provide some words of wisdom in his understated way that were helpful words of wisdom. So for that, I'm much appreciative. I also would like to point out that he, as a teacher, was unequaled. He was the first recipient of the Outstanding Teacher Award, and I would say was the template for that award. His teaching was evidence-based, and he had a knack for finding the enduring techniques for teaching that, even though, as we've heard today, we have a different generation of students raised with different cultural norms, the approaches he adopted would be every bit as relevant now as they were then. So, Larry, thank you.
Present you to the board and let them vote first. I don't think we can present Larry Martin for the emeritus position.
You have a recommendation in front of you for the promotion to emeritus rank for Dr. Larry Martin. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Governor Franks,
Second.
Flanagan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Well, you've seen 3 people that I've hired in my time, and they're all keepers. I do want to thank President and Missouri Southern and the math department. I don't know exactly what the process is to how one goes about nominating or putting someone forward, but I don't know the process, but I do have a good friend who I know asked for a copy of my vita to present to to whomever for the award. So I'm thankful for that. It's been it's a good day, a happy day for me, but I think it's especially happy because of I'm being granted this award while one of my students and one of my hires, she was a student of mine as well as one that I hired, same day that I get it with Laura, so I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Again, congratulations to both of you. Yes, sir.
Time for our lobbyist report, so I guess Gary Burton and Gary's represented us now for, I guess solely now for what, 3 or 4 years, and help before that at part-time, done a great job for us. I think most of you know Gary Burton, used to be a representative for years, now does a great job with the Burton Lacey lobby. Gary.
Thank you, Doctor. As I start, I'd like to introduce Jim Foley. Jim and I go back a number of years. We served in the legislature together for 10 years, and now we've been partners with Burton Lacey now for the last, I guess, 16, 17 years. Jim is kind of, he lives in Jefferson City. When he and I got to know each other, we served on the different sides of the aisles, as T-Mark can indicate. And you make friendships along the way, and Jim and I became friends on the legislative basis, and that has continued to today. And he's going to do part of the report, As you know, and probably are grateful for, we just got through another election cycle. Getting through it is the grateful part. As Dr. Marble indicated, we've got a whole new array of legislators from Southwest Missouri. We've lost all of our key members from Ron Richard down to several of the individuals that have served in Jeff City for the last 8 years. And so now we've got a new group that will be coming in and training. We also have new leadership. And in the Missouri House and Missouri Senate, the numbers didn't change, but the faces do. And the entire House was up for re-election, and half the Senate was up for re-election. And I'm going to let Jim come up and talk about leadership changes that we see coming up and what maybe we possibly see coming up as far as budget chair in both the House and the Senate. So Jim, you want to do that?
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it. First of all, it's great to be here. In your packet, you got this little synopsis of the last election. It was kind of a little highlight of what went on, and I'm going to give you some bullet points on this. Right now is, in the Missouri House and in the Missouri Senate, the numbers didn't change. You make the Republicans have still had the supermajority, 116 to 47 in the House, 24 to 10 in the Senate out there. In actuality, in the election, the Democrats actually flipped 3 Republican seats, and the Republicans flipped 3 Democratic seats to maintain the same numbers that we've seen in years past. But they did. Last week was their elections for leadership in the House. As you all know, Ron Richard I'm sure everyone here knows Ron Richard, has been term limited. So they had a new President Pro Tem, and Dave Schatz out of Franklin County is the new Pro Tem of the Senate, and Caleb Rowden is from Columbia, Boone County, is actually the floor leader who took Senator Kehoe's position in the Senate. And in the House, Elijah Haar, who is actually from Springfield, is actually now the speaker because the current speaker actually resigned early. Speaker Richardson actually took the Medicaid position in the state of Missouri. Why? I'm not sure, but that's a tough position, but he took it. And Elijah Haar, who was actually the pro tem, elevated to the speaker, and he was also re-elected speaker by his caucus just last week. On that, and Rob Vescovo from Jefferson County also was re-elected as floor leader in there. The only difference you saw in the main leadership races was John Weeman out of St. Charles is the new pro tem in the House over there. So, but I also want to talk 2 other things. One is, as you all know, Josh Hawley is the new United States Senator. That position became open. His the Attorney General position came open. Eric Schmidt, who is currently right now the state treasurer, will be appointed, has been appointed by Governor Parsons to be the next Attorney General. Governor Parsons has not, as of this moment, has not appointed the new state treasurer on that. I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know how fast he's going to do it. I know the vetting is going on right as we speak on that, so it probably will not be long on that one. Also, the propositions out there. I do want to talk about one because I think it's really important. And you're going to probably see a lot more of it in the paper. And that is the constitutional, I think it was 1, which was basically the one that dealt with the legislature. Ban legislators from becoming lobbyists for at least 2 years, ban gifts to legislators no more than $5 per occurrence. How that's going to play out, who knows. But also, more importantly, redistricting. That is in there. Now, if you read the language is really, it's going to go to court, guys. I've already talked to several other law firms that are already preparing lawsuits for that because it's supposed to be competitive races. What does that mean? No one knows what competitive means. It is when it comes to an election. Is it, hey, take the demographics, 50% Republican, 50% Democrat? Don't know. No one really knows. That's still yet to be determined. You see a lot of people claim that's going to do this, that. No one really knows. There's going to be a state demographer. It's going to be in an auditor's office on that, so the demographer will actually, the auditor's office will have a lot of say over who the next demographer is, which is the only Democrat that is in the statewide offices, is Galloway, on all the 6. The other one's pretty much all appointed to the positions. So that's going to be very interesting, and a lot of lawsuits I think you're going to read in the very future about that proposition, about that. Now, you got 2 years before it takes effect on it. So you're gonna see a lot of changes, probably, possibly new initiative petitions, possibly, legislature putting issues on the ballot to change certain things. So you're gonna see a lot of that, so. But anyway, I'll turn it off to Gary so you can talk a little more about some of the budget. So.
One of the big challenges on that amendment is that by a constitution, you're only supposed to have one subject matter in an issue. This one had 3 or 4. And so I think constitutionally that the courts will probably look at that as covering more than one subject matter and possibly throw it out, which doesn't mean that it's going to go away in the future. It'll come back, but at least maybe with a little bit more forethought than what they did with this one. I know the biggest concern that Southern has is budget and what we get from the state. We think that probably in the Senate, the budget chair is going to be one of 2 individuals, a Senator Dan Hageman or Senator David Sater. Of course, Sater is from Southwest Missouri. Hageman is from Northwest Missouri. And both are very good, very competent. And my personal feeling is that Hageman probably will get it, but I don't know. One will be chairman, the other will be vice chair. Senator Sater is vice chair now, and Jim just talked about the elections. The president-elect in the Senate started promising some things the last few days, and so this is still to play out as to who's going to be the new chairman of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate. Of course, in the House, it doesn't change. Fitzpatrick will continue to be the budget chair over in the House, and then Cody Smith is going to be the vice chair in the House, which Cody's from Carthage, which is good for us that we'll have an ear to him, as well as Fitzpatrick's from Southwest Missouri as well. So we think we'll be okay on both fronts there. Budget-wise, I think the word is still out. The revenues for the state right now are down, which is kind of surprising. It's down about 3.5% overall. When we're in a strong economy and all the other indicators are looking good, our income tax side is down significantly. And what we found out was that the Department of Revenue sent out the wrong withholding tables first part of the year. And so companies and so forth that withhold income tax and send it in have been sending in the wrong amount. Now supposedly that's been corrected and new tables have been sent out, but I've talked to a number of different business leaders that said, we didn't see it, we didn't change our tables. Some of the accountants are saying just keep withholding what you did and they'll make it up at the end of the year. So hopefully it's an anomaly that will be corrected by the end of the year because general income tax should be up. Sales tax is up about 3.6% sales tax is up about 4.7% for the year. And so, you'd think that income tax would be up as well, but we'll have to wait and see. At this particular point, they are not talking about any withholds, but that doesn't mean that Governor Parsons won't have to do something between now and the end of the year to make everything balance out. One area that was really up significantly was on refunds. When you did your taxes this past year, refunds were up about 45% over the previous year. And so they had to borrow money from the Treasury, which has to be paid back with interest in order to balance the budget and be able to refund all of those obligations. So that's something that we're going to have to wait and see. This past year, I know that Dr. Marvel's kept you informed as what's been going on. We asked for about a $3 million appropriation for the dental program to be tied in with the University of Missouri. That got cut back to $2 million. And then the University of Missouri said that wasn't enough to be able to do the program, so they backed out. So that money will be withheld and not released. We're hoping that we can get that reappropriated this next year. I've talked to Senator Hageman, and he was very responsive to being able to maybe reappropriate that to tie in with maybe possibly a dental program or a nursing program here at Southern for this next year. Dr. Marvel and I will be discussing that before we have our go back into session and just see how we can lay that thing out and see if it's possible to even get that $2 million or $3 million reappropriated. Other than that, I think the Board of Higher Education sent forth their budget to the governor. I think it was about a 3% increase, which if you look at, whose turn is it to get funded, higher ed definitely is due. They've been the chopping block, and for the last several years, when the governor needed to come up with dollars, they seem to always take it away from higher ed. Elementary and secondary scathed pretty well. They've fully funded now for the last 2 or 3 years. So hopefully that's going to change, and it's time for higher ed to be able to get their appropriation and be able to move forward the way that we need to. But that story is still out. We'll have to wait and see what happens between now and the end of the year, and then see what the priorities are of the governor when he makes his comments to the legislature come January. So I'm going to kind of open it up. If you have questions, be more than happy to answer the questions. If not, I'll cut our short.
Gary, I have a quick question about Dan Hagman. He served in the House, didn't he? UT Mark and Gary, when you guys were all up there, he was there at that time.
Served in the House together and shared a house together.
Then did he get the county commissioner or something, and then came back as senator?
Came back, presiding commissioner, came back, and he has ties, he's from Savannah, has ties to Missouri Western, so he's familiar with the funding inequity between us and the rest of them.
As far as the leadership on the House or the Senate side, as far as higher education is concerned, those are still up in the air. On the House side, they termed out, so there will be new leadership on those committees. And on the Senate side, we're not sure quite what was promised. And so Senator Romine, who has been chairman, may be some changes. So we are going to have to wait and see what happens there. That won't be decided until the first week of January when they get back into session. Now, one thing is with Governor Parsons coming from basically southern Missouri, we've got a real staunch ally for not only higher ed and education in general, but especially in training and so forth for our workforce development. So.
All right. Any other questions for Gary?
We want to thank you for letting us represent you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Linda,
Yes,
introduce the auditors.
I would love to. So today from BKD, we have Ms. Kim Ham, and she is going to present the results of the FY 2018 audit.
You mind if I just stand right here?
Yes.
Members of the board and Dr. Marble, we really appreciate the chance to be here to share the results of the June 30, 2018 audit. With me here today, I have Brian Sybil and Kyle Miller, also with BKD. And we all met earlier today with the committee to kind of go over the reports in detail. So I'm going to go just very briefly here, but I'm happy to address any questions that you might have. Happy to comment that we did issue a clean or unmodified opinion on the financial statements that basically states that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the university as of for the year ended June 30, 2018. The opinion letter that we issue also refers to the foundation, which is presented as a discreetly presented component unit due to the relationships with the university, and the letter notes that that entity is audited by another set of auditors. And in planning and performing our audit, we do consider the university's internal controls over the financial reporting and compliance, but just to clarify, we do not actually issue an opinion on the internal controls. Part of the documents that you have as part of the financial statement includes management's discussion and analysis, or the MD&A. And that's really a good place to go if you want to find a financial snapshot of kind of some of the major things that happened during the year. And another place to find really good information with the financial statements is in the footnotes, because you can find information on the university's policies and any information on significant line items as well, if you'd like more detail on any of those items. As part of our audit, we also do cover the federal programs, because you get federal aid, and the largest program the university gets obviously is related to student financial aid. This year we looked at that program as well as the TRIO program, and I'm very happy to announce that there were no items that rose to the level of having to be a written finding in that report. So in your report you'll see no matters are reported. And as we've heard today and continue to hear, obviously colleges and universities continue to face challenges with increasing costs and potential reductions or holds on revenue. So, we're excited to see the continued diligence. It was a great conversation in the committee meeting this morning, and looking for innovative ways to do new programs that are unique for your campus to help with enrollment and also in helping curb costs. So we're really excited to see the level of enthusiasm that we do and the buy-in from all the members, whether it's management, the board of governors, or all the members of the campus. But we really wanted to also tell you that we get a lot of great cooperation when we're on campus, not only just in the financial area, which is great, but we touch HR and IT and financial aid in a lot of areas, and we get a lot of good cooperation, and it's very, very much appreciated as we do this work, because it's a lot of work on these people while they're trying to do their regular jobs. So again, we appreciate that, and happy to address any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Hey, you got off a lot easier here than you did.
That's okay. It's not bad to be towards the end sometimes. Thank you very much.
Governor Haley.
On behalf of the Budget and Audit Committee, we make a motion to approve the report of the financial audit for fiscal year 2018.
We have a motion and a second by Governor Plotnick. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
May I make a comment?
You may.
Thank you. I say this every year, but I really appreciate the relationship with BKD. I always say that they make us work for it, but it's a great relationship. They always come in very prepared, very quickly, respectful of our time, our timeline, the other things that we're trying to get done. I also see that Becca from Financial Aid, Alicia, the Bursar, and my Director of Accounting, Michelle, are here, and those are three people, along with a host of others, but those three people really helped to make it a success, and I just wanted to point them out and thank them publicly.
Well done. Thank you. Is there any other new business to be brought before the board? Before we adjourn, do you want to tell everybody where we're going?
We will, the board and the President's Council and anyone else that wants to hop on the bus, we can go out this door here and we'll turn right. It's waiting for us in the Circle Drive in front of the Student Center.
Have a ribbon cutting and press conference at the Leon Health Science Building. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Governor Plotnick, second. Second. By Governor Pershway. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You can stay here.
Chairman Gibson, impressive job. Getting us through on.
Yeah.
Drive careful.